Hello everyone, my name is João and I am here to present our paper, Getting a Handle on Floor Plan Analysis, Door Classification in Floor Plans, and a survey on existing datasets. So first we gotta ask ourselves, why do we care about analyzing floor plans? The type of analysis that I'm talking about is getting a computer to look at a floor plan and automatically interpret and extract the elements that are found within it. So by doing this, we can bring floor plan images, like scans from older buildings, and convert them into modern digital formats such as 3D models or even BIM files. When we think about the applicability of this for the metaverse, we can imagine of how it will enable to bring, for example, our own homes by simply scanning an old floor plan. And if we take a look at the news, we can see that investments and buying private land in the metaverse is a really huge thing, so it's fair to assume that this will be an interesting topic of research. And the question now is, how can we do it? So this has been a field of research for a long time, and in the early days, this was usually performed using low-level image processing techniques and using a set of assumptions, such as walls are drawn with thick lines. More recently, machine learning techniques have been explored and shown to produce better results. These techniques range from convolutional neural networks, vision transformers, and even graph neural networks if you are using CAD files. So when we talk about machine learning methods, we can see that overall they seem to yield better results and are also more generalizable to different images. But on the other end, these models require huge amounts of data, which is something that we do not have in architecture. And that data must also be properly annotated. So this is a manual process where human errors might happen, especially when there is ambiguity in the input image. And another problem when we consider correctly annotated is that we do not know what is correct, as it depends on the task being performed. Unlike in computer vision challenges, where there are huge data sets with annotation, convention, and standards, we also do not have that in architecture. So the focus of our research is twofold. We start by performing a survey on floor plan datasets in the literature, covering 17, and we hope that this serves as a good starting point for any researchers looking for data or into current methods for floor plan interpretation. We also propose a method to recover door semantics in floor plan images, and these semantics include opening direction, door axis, and door type, and we propose a method to do this while using the publicly available data, which is oftentimes limited in that regard. And this is the part that I'll focus on for the rest of the presentation. Here we can see an example of annotation of a floor plan that is pretty common in these datasets. And on the left we have the input image, and on the right the corresponding annotation, including room types, doors, and windows. If you look here at these three doors in the center, we can see that the annotation only includes the wall opening and no other information regarding the orientation. So this is alright for most tasks, as they're mostly just concerned with reconstructing the structure. But if we want to have a more complete and immersive reconstruction, we must take these factors into account, and this is the motivation behind our work. To solve this issue, we start by finding a method to describe doors in a generalizable form. So we start by noting how each door can be defined by two endpoints, start and end, which we call S and E in this figure. And then we can describe the door symbols by taking into account the position of the door axis in relation to these 2 points. A simple visual way to think about this is to place the door on a Cartesian plane, where S is on the left and E is on the right, and then the position of this point O, which denotes the opening direction, gives all the semantic information that we need. For example, this door will be classified as a left forward, as the axis is on the left, and it opens forward if we were sitting on the lower part of the y-axis. This can also be applied to other elements, such as double doors and doors that open in both directions. Moving on to how we can apply this description to extract data, By following our initial survey on datasets, we decided to use this one called the Cubicasa 5K, which includes 5,000 floor plan images, being the largest publicly available dataset of floor plan raster images. And these images are from floor plans of real buildings. So it is one example of a floor plan image from the dataset. And here is the corresponding annotation. These annotations are in SVG, which is a vector format, which means that a lot more information can be encoded than just the image pixels. So what we did was we used that to our advantage as to extract the data and generate a new dataset consisting of just annotated doors. So we use the SVG to find the doors through the ID attribute, and for each door we apply this process. We start by extracting the two endpoints, S and D, and we apply total order from the bottom left to the top right, and this is to ensure that all extracted images are consistent with one another. Extract the opening point from the SVG, which we did by analyzing some of the inputs. To perform left and right labeling, we just check whether this point O is closest. So in this case, it's closer to E, and we assign the label right. And then to perform forward and reverse classification, we can take these two vectors and use their angle, thus assigning the label forward. By applying the same transformation to the original input image, we can get a new extracted example. So these are some other examples generated by our process. The first one is a left reverse, but includes another door above it. We have a door that opens on both directions, but switches the axis depending on the opening direction, and some other examples. For all of these, the semantic information is extracted in the same manner. We run this process for all images in the original dataset, and this is what we got. So on total, we extracted over 30,000 images. And one thing to note is that single doors are by far the most common, which might make it harder to build a classifier that is not biased towards that class. You might have noticed these two colors, and the orange bars are for the augmented dataset, which is created simply by reusing the same images and repurposing them for different classes. For example, we have our right forward image, and by flipping horizontally, we get a left forward. If we flip it this way, we can get a left reverse, and finally we can flip it once more and get a right reverse image. Well, one thing we might have asked ourselves until now is, why are we extracting individual images, and could we not just put this information on the segmentation directly? And the truth is, when we're training segmentation network, it's also common to rotate the image to artificially increase the amount of data available. So on normal orientation, we have this. And if you look at point 7 and we were to move it under point 6, these annotations will stop making sense because they will be inconsistent with the first vertical wall here. They will not match. So we could calculate this during training, but that will slow down training a lot as it will add a lot of calculations to the process. Now we move on to the application and integration of this on the floor plan analysis problem. We start with an initial segmentation phase for which we use the original model provided by the Cubicasa 5K authors. And from this segmentation we can extract the bounding boxes of the doors. And then by using the same method to extract the crop out of the original image and using a machine learning to classify that zone. This machine learning model was trained on the data that we generate through our process, and finally, after prediction, we have the semantic information for the door, and we can use it to reconstruct the floor plan. This is the confusion matrix showing our model's results, and we can see it through classes of the doors and the class predicted by our model. For a trained model, we achieved 90.7 overall accuracy in the test set, and we can see that it mostly struggles between distinguishing the none and slide doors. One random 126 non-doors were classified as sliding doors and 92 sliding doors were classified as non-doors. We found that this to be expected because the non-doors were oftentimes ambiguous even for us humans. Here is an example of our process applied to the complete floor plan image, and the classifier got all doors right except for that one on the bottom left, and we can see that it actually is due to a segmentation error which includes the small door on the left, so there's two doors instead of one. If we take this error into account, the classifier actually made a pretty reasonable prediction of right reverse by discarding the small door. And here is the 3D model automatically reconstructed with the recovered door semantics and matching the previous image. That's it for my presentation, and feel free to send any questions to the listed email.